Welcome to another movie plot. Spoilers ahead. It's 1888 in the Whitechapel district of Victorian London, where the locals live on the edge of starvation and each day is a struggle to survive. The women of the night wander the streets looking to find anyone with 2 pennies to rub together. Mary Kelly is out on the prowl and notices she is being followed, so makes the smart decision to go down a dark alley and is confronted by a goon hired by McQueen.
You remember me?
The heart and soul of the Nichols gang is looking to shake down the girls for £1 a week. Calling it payment for security, McQueen removes some of Mary's buttons and gives her until Monday to pay up. Mary and the rest of the toots sleep tied up to a bench, as is the only safe way for someone without a bed in these times. They return to the streets where we meet Mary's friends Polly Nichols, Annie Chapman, Liz Stride, Martha Tabram, and Kate Eddowes. The girls must earn money for food and shelter for the coming night, as is the harsh unrelenting cycle of their lives. Anne Crook is the envy of all the working girls. Having been taken off the street and married by a rich painter, she is now living uptown in luxury. She leaves her newborn baby with the girls to watch for the day, while promising to get them the £4 they still need to come up with to pay off McQueen. A mysterious coachman named Netley is threatened by Benjamin Kidney, the head of a special branch of police who tells the driver that his time will come when he isn't protected. But for now it's Albert and Anne's. Ben comes for them with a group of thugs, trashing the room then dragging them outside half naked. Mary and Martha return with the baby to see the couple being taken away in horse-drawn carriages. Anne is then questioned as to who else knows about the secret, with Anne replying that she didn't even know herself. With the girls now stuck with having to feed another mouth, Kate takes the baby home while Martha gets back to work, walking not 2 minutes before being dragged into an alley and gruesomely murdered. In an opium den somewhere in the dregs of London, Police Inspector Frederick Aberline is enjoying himself when Sergeant Peter Godley arrives to get him cleaned up. Aberline is a brilliant yet troubled man whose police work is often aided by his psychic visions. With Godley piquing his interest with talks of Martha's murder, the inspector inspects her body to find that the killer has removed her lady parts. Over at the hospital, a physician to the royal family, Sir William Gall, takes his students to a demonstration of a lobotomy performed by a Dr. Ferrall, where Anne is strapped to a gurney and rendered unconscious. Being told that she was violent and insane, a class watches on as the doctor hammers away. Down at the 10 Bells Tavern, the friends sit around discussing ways to make the £4, agreeing that even with a slasher they must work the streets, which we see Polly working the hardest at. Mary tells them she left the baby with Anne's parents and they speculate potential suspects for Martha's murderer, all coming to the same conclusion that it was probably McQueen since he enjoys hurting women. Which we then see when he threatens to take Polly's eye, with a retractable blade, before being scared off by a policeman and threatening to kill Polly on his way out. But he is beaten to the punch when a distressed Polly is picked up by a rich stranger, giving her grapes before strangling her and doing his thing to the corpse. The Bobbies find her murdered and mutilated post-mortem, and by morning the crime scene is swarming with people, to which the young opium addict arrives. Aberline finds a grape sprue on her, and deduces that she was killed elsewhere and dumped here since she is dry, yet it rained last night. Further investigations suggest the killer is likely knowledgeable in human anatomy because of the highly surgical incisions. Reporting this back to his superior Sir Charles Warren, Aberline is told that it must have been a savage Indian.
Maybe one of these.
When told the killer was rich due to the grapes he used to lure her in, the chief suggests a Jew butcher. The man has a racist answer for everything. As the town is out for Jewish blood, Aberline returns home to spend the night with his love of laudanum, getting high and still grieving the death of his wife during childbirth 2 years earlier. At Polly's ill-attempted funeral, Aberline and Godley attend where they find no help from the girls, all not wanting to speak with the police except for Mary, who jokingly flirts with the inspector before calling him useless and leaving. The girls try to stick together, spending the night discussing their plans to find Anne, with Mary deciding she wants to speak with Aberline and the rest wanting to go to the press. Suddenly the owner bursts in and kicks the toots out, having only paid for the room for one person. Inspector Aberline is correct in his deduction, with the Ripper shown to be wealthy, educated, but also a member of the secret society of Freemasons. Netley is sent out by his employer by night to prey upon Jack's next victim. Coming across Annie stumbling home, he convinces her to get in his coach with, you guessed it, some grapes.
I'll trade.
She is taken to Hanbury Street by a nervous Netley and led into the darkness, where the Ripper claims another of the undesirables. With all the girls being part of the same group of friends, Inspector Aberline suspects them a target of ritualistic killings, still not being convinced it's the work of the Nichols gang by Godley. He finds another grape stem on the victim and puts coins on her eyes for the ferryman. But when asking his superior for a competent doctor to investigate the corpse, Charles refuses his request, stating that no one else is to see the bodies. Going against these orders, Aberline attends a conference of the town's doctors doing a study on the Elephant Man, where the inspector insists on having Farrell do the autopsies, as he is the best surgeon in the city. But he soon realizes that the doctor is just another Jew-hating monarchist. Thankfully, the inquisitive Gull is willing to help, taking the inspector into a studio and saying that Farrell has a surgeon's malady, meaning that he knows everything about the anatomy but nothing about the soul. During the consultation, Gull draws on his experience as a retired surgeon to assist, noting that the knife the slasher used would be a Liston knife. Going over the police report, Gull deduces that Aberline is struggling with opium addiction. He writes the ill inspector a prescription for the headaches, and agrees with his darker, more organized theory of the murders, that the Ripper is a well-educated medical man. We also see at the conference Anne's baby daddy Albert, being called His Royal Highness before stepping outside and getting into the Ripper's carriage. Though its driver Netley is having second thoughts about his involvement and is feeling lost, so the Ripper consoles him, by saying that they are in hell. Noticing the ritualistic murders are occurring in a pentagram, Aberline positions officers at the remaining points of the star, instructing them especially to watch for well-dressed men.
Dismissed!
Finding Mary walking down the same street all her friends have been murdered on, the inspector warns her against it, but a girl's gotta make bread. He takes her to the 10 Bells and treats her to dinner, while telling her that he had visions of her fat with a dozen plump children. That's a compliment in this time. She tells Aberline about Ben Kidney, to which the inspector does some looking into, discovering that both Anne's baby and her parents are now missing as well. So convinced that this may have something to do with the canonical victims, he breaks into Kidney's office to find clues on Anne's whereabouts, with Godley keeping watch. He finds where Anne is being held, but Kidney returns, requiring Godley to damn near blow him to smithereens with a gunpowder barrel in order for Aberline to slip out undetected. Mary and Aberline go to visit Anne at a workhouse, where they find her kept in a cell with little brain activity, though she does manage to say that her baby's father is a prince. Aberline and Mary begin to grow close as he tells her about his wife's passing, and promises they will retrieve Anne's baby from the orphanage that he tracked her down to. He takes her to an art gallery where all the upper class stare in bemusement, and shows her a painting of the man she knows as Albert, confirming that he is really Prince Edward, the grandson of reigning Queen Victoria. The inspector goes to speak with Gull, who is currently in a sickly state, and requests information on the prince, suspecting that he is Jack the Ripper, trying to cover up his deviant behavior. He finds out that Albert is dying of syphilis, which makes the baby the soon-to-be heiress of the British throne. Though his hand tremors would keep him from having a steady enough hand like the killer has, not to mention he's an idiot. We are shown that the Ripper's clothing is the same thing worn by the Freemasons, including the police chief, who is one of their high-ranking members overseeing the induction of Dr. Farrell. He asks if Gull's sickness is far enough along that he might confide in the inspector, but Kidney assures him the doctor's mind is sound. Mary tells Kate about posing naked for Prince Edward's paintings, when Liz comes into the bar having found a French toot named Ada to join the team. Aberline goes to see Mary out of concern and gives her money to rent a room for a few days, telling her to stay off the streets with the girls until this is all over. They briefly kiss before an officer splits them up, not realizing at first who the inspector is. But the first night in the new place, Liz begins making unwanted advances to Ada and gets shut down, causing a fight to break out that smashes a window. Liz then disappears into the dangerous streets alone, not really believing Mary about the prince and just assuming she is trying to keep Aberline interested in her. But sure enough, the first person she runs into offers her a shot laced in the drug laudanum, which the heavy drinker downs. But thankfully, when the two go into a dark alley to do the nasty, she spots the slasher's Liston knife in a reflection and flees. Unfortunately, Netley is waiting around the corner and tackles her. A man witnesses the attack but just keeps on walking, while the coach driver holds Liz for Jack to slash her neck. He doesn't get to the ripping though before a man comes down the street and they have to scatter, which Aberline says will leave the Ripper feeling unfulfilled. While Mary and Ada sleep, Kate sneaks out to look for her missing friend, but naturally comes across a familiar-looking carriage and is very quickly dealt with. Aberline has another vision, but before he can get to the location of the crime, he is jumped by Kidney's men, who threaten that they will kill him if he doesn't ignore Gull's advice and drop the case, only letting him live now due to people asking questions. Aberline wakes after being briefly knocked out to find Kate's body an active crime scene, and writing in chalk on a wall proving Jack the Ripper is educated, due to the correct spelling of the word Jews. Opposing the inspector's methods, Charles tells him to find a scapegoat. When he refuses, Aberline is suspended from the case. So he goes home and gets high, having visions of Mary's death at the hands of the Ripper. Not being able to locate Mary, he leaves some money with her landlord, but when she picks it up, she is followed home by Netley. Aberline digs deeper into the Freemasons and goes to speak with the only Mason he knows, Gull. The inspector tells the former surgeon that he knows the pentagram is a symbol of their faith, And being a physician in the ordinary to the Queen, Aberline surmises that the family would have approached him first. Gull was instructed to dispose of all witnesses to the forbidden marriage of Edward and Anne, and boasts that he will be remembered in history for giving birth to the 20th century. Aberline draws his gun, vowing that Gull will never see it. But he is knocked out by Kidney before he can get a shot off. The Freemasons try to eliminate him by injection, but Aberline fights back and knocks Farrell out with a headbutt before kicking Kidney out of the window of a moving carriage, causing him to go under the wheel and the carriage to flip, killing the secret police officer. Jack the Ripper arrives at the final witness's apartment. Making his way into the room, he catches Mary sleeping and pounces on her. He mutilates her worse than the other girls and eventually cuts out and boils her heart, having now completely lost himself to the Ripper persona. Aberline rushes to save Mary but shows up too late, seeing the worst one yet. He blames his Freemason superior for not helping him on the cases. Demanding Charles give Gull to him, the Mason assures the inspector that now with all the Toots dead, they will deal with him themselves. Showing that the Queen herself hired Gull to protect the royal family from the scandal, Gull is put on trial, stating he has no equal among men. He remains unrepentant until his own lobotomy, which renders him an invalid like Anne. Aberline is reinstated and even promoted, but when mourning over the corpse, discovers among the body parts a brunette lock of hair differing from Mary's red, and conceals the evidence to protect her. Aberline goes to the 10 Bells and receives a letter from Mary, revealing that Gull had mistaken Ada for her and killed her instead. She asks him to visit her in her home country of Ireland, but since he is being watched closely by Freemasons, Aberline decides not to look for her despite wanting nothing more. Being told by Godley that he will grow old talking about the one who got away, he burns Mary's letter to protect her. Years later, Mary is shown to have adopted Anne's daughter, and the two are living in a cottage alone on a cliff by the sea, never having seen the inspector again. Sergeant Godley later finds Aberline dead of an opium overdose, having deliberately taken his own life, indicated by 2 coins he preemptively had ready. A distressed Godley places the coins on Aberline's eyelids and leaves, telling him good night, sweet prince. And the movie ends.
From hell.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.
Well, at least they got the address right.